All right, it is time. I have the Cotton Candy Queen palette from Jeffree Star, and I wrote down all the suggestions from my other video when I asked you guys what I should compare, what colors I should compare to his other palettes. Except for the Morphe one. I do not have the Jeffree Star Morphe palette, so I can't do that one. Plus that's not technically his formula anyway, it's Morphe's. So I will just go ahead and do the ones that, do all the other ones that I wrote down. So, I did have someone ask for the Pink Religion palette to be compared to the pinks in here. I should have grabbed all of these out before I did this. And I had forgotten that his face was on the cremated one too, but everybody pointed that out to me. So, Pink Religion was mostly pinks and some purples. So what I'm gonna do, let's see, what's closest? Okay, just looking at it, the first one that I noticed that is super close is Frosting Fun from Cotton Candy Queen and Frosting Cult from Pink Sugar. Very, very close. Frosting Cult is a little bit darker. So I'm gonna stick those two right here, so you can see them side by side. Pretty similar, definitely similar enough that you wouldn't need both those colors if they were singles. The Pastel Pussy one. I hate that word, I hate saying it. But that's that matte pink that was a little bit chalky. Let's see, I'm trying to see which one's closest in here. Probably the Pink Fever one is the closest. So I'm gonna swatch that right next to it. That one's got a little bit, a slightly more purplish, like a lavenderish tint to it. So it's a little bit darker, but those are very similar too. And what do we have? Lollipop Throat. That one is more of like a, I'm just gonna swatch it next to these because that's pretty close to the Frosting Cult one too in the other palette, but way darker. There's not really like a darker metallic pink like that in here. Maybe Candy Cathedral. Let's swatch that one here too. So this is Candy Cathedral. Very close to this one, but this one is a metallic. They're all just a little bit off. Cupcake Royalty is this matte pale pink. And I'm not sure there's a pink that is pale enough in the other palette, but I'm gonna try and find whatever's closest. This one's just so, does not want to swatch great. The lightest matte pink in the, why do I keep forgetting? Pink Religion palette is Saint Star. So I'm gonna swatch that one next to it. It's a very light baby pink. So those are probably the two closest dupes you're gonna get for that one. So, oh, and then we have Pink Licorice too. Let's see what's close to that. We have Pink Licorice from the Cotton Candy Queen palette. A matte hot pink. I'm running out of room to swatch, so I'm gonna stick this here. And then there's a couple we could do in here. Diva, oh, you can't see it. Diva is this super hot pink. That one's very dry though. I've always found that one to be super dry. So where's Pink Licorice? This one right here, next to Diva. Diva and Pink Licorice are very similar. And I'm gonna do Beauty Killer too, even though I know this is more of like a maroony shade. It's still pretty similar. So I think the ones that were closest were these two and these two. but I mean, they're all pretty stinking close, so they're just like a shade or two off. But those are all the ones that stand out to me as like need to be swatched next to each other. Okay, the next thing was the yellows. A lot of you wanted me to compare them to some of the yellows in the Banana Fetish palette, and then the Conspiracy. So, Conspiracy palette has that Food Videos neon yellow in it. So I'm gonna swatch that one first. That is definitely one that always needs a white base underneath it. But I'm just gonna swatch them next to each other so you can see. It's very neon. Nostalgic Taste is that powdery, very light, almost doesn't swatch. And then Sugar Climax is the metallic-y one. It's almost the same color as the matte one, but in metallic form. So you can definitely see that one's super bright. And then the Banana Fetish, let's see what was closest in here. We definitely have, let me see. I'm gonna just close that one for now so I can stick this one up here. My Peeps and Just the Tip are both pretty light ones, so I wanted to, but both the formulas of these are better than this one. So I'm gonna swatch them right next to this. I think it's closest to this one, My Peeps and the one from the Cotton Candy palette. And then we also have How Do You Feel, which is a little bit darker of a yellow. I'm gonna put down here. Doesn't really match any of those. Sorry there's so much traffic going by. It's that time of the day where everybody's getting out of work. And then Cream Pie is pretty close too, so I'm gonna do those. I mean that one. So we have all the yellows on here, or all the ones that are similar to the ones in the Cotton Candy palette. And then for the hell of it, let's do the Banana Fetish one. That one's more of a true yellow, like a golden, I shouldn't say true yellow, it's like a goldenrod yellow. But that one's like very, if you're looking for a good yellow shadow, I like that one a lot. But you can definitely see, even though this one's closer, it's swatched a little bit better. So those are all the yellows compared to the two in the Cotton Candy Queen palette. I don't know why I keep saying cloud. All right, what was the next thing? The Blue Blood palette. People wanted me to compare the blues to the blues in the Blue Blood palette. So let me find that one. All right. So we got Blue Blood palette and the blues in the Cotton Candy Queen palette. So there's only 3 blues in Cotton Candy Queen, but let me see. I think we'll do Confetti Sky first. It's a very, very pale powder blue. Almost can't see it. It's almost white on me. And then I'm Cold would probably be the closest, but it's a little bit darker. And I'll do the minty one for the heck of it, even though this is more of like a greenish blue. And then, what else do we have in here? We have Brain Candy, which is the metallic blue. I don't think there's anything comparable in this one, because I mean, there's not much metallic going on in the Blue Blood palette, but I'm gonna swatch this one anyway, next to everything else. This one's pretty pigmented and very metallic. The other one I want to compare, because I know there's some comparison colors in the Blue Blood, Cotton Candy Party, which is the brighter matte blue. I'm going to stick that one right here. That doesn't want to swatch great there. This one's not very soft, it's kind of a drier formula. Okay, so we have that one. Guess you could kind of compare it to this one too. All right. Blue Blood would probably be closest to that one. It's a nice bright matte blue. A little bit darker though. So that's definitely the darkest out of these so far. And I think that's probably it. I don't like, these are all way too dark. So not really any super close ones in the Blue Blood palette. Like I said, the closest is probably these two. The purples, which I kind of already did the purples in Bloodlust, but I wanted to just do it again so that it's in this video. When I did the swatch palette, the swatch video for the Cotton Candy Queen palette, I kind of swatched the purples in Bloodlust because that was the first palette it reminded me of, because it had so many purples in it. Damn it, I can't really get it in frame there. So I did... Let's see. The Gourmet Glory one is a light metallic lilac color. And we have Take the Crown in the Bloodlust palette. It's a little bit darker, but they're pretty close. And then we have Ice Cream Drip, which is this pretty matte lavender color. This one's really nice, pigmented, not chalky. Of course, I just put it on and it's like powdery. I think I grabbed too much of it. So that's Ice Cream Drip, and then Vivid Mood. Oh, can you see that one in here? Is pretty close in the Bloodlust palette. So I think the purples have some pretty good dupes. If you already have the Bloodlust palette, those are very similar, and these are very similar. Like I said, like the other one's a shade or two off. And then Castle of Sprinkles. This is my favorite shadow by far in the Cotton Candy Queen palette. It is a matte lavender base with a bunch of pink shimmer in it that makes it gives it like that wet look to it. Come on, focus. There's really not a color close to that in this palette. The closest one would probably be Beauty Sleep. This doesn't have like that micro sparkle in it that gives it that wet look, but it's still it's like a lavender that has a really strong gold flash to it. So I just wanted to swatch those for comparison. And then the super dark Taste Test Me. I also really like this color in the Cotton Candy Queen palette because it's such a nice dark, like violet, vibrant purple. I'm gonna put that right here because I'm running out of space. It doesn't ever want to swatch this great on this part of my hand, and nothing does. But there isn't a nice vibrant violet like that, like a blue-based one. The closest one would probably be Blood Queen. So I'm gonna swatch this one right next to it. So not too far off, but it's definitely more pinky than the other one. This one's more blue-based and this one's more pink-based. So there you have those. And then, I mean, there's this one, High King. That's probably should be swatched next to them just for comparison too. So I'm gonna stick this one right here. That's definitely more pinky than all the other ones though. So there's that mess that I just made. The last thing I wanted to do was compare whatever colors are similar in here to the Jawbreaker palette. So, Jawbreaker, we all know what this one looks like. Definitely has some similar shades in here, and I can fold this one backwards to see. So right off the bat, Bubblegum is calling out to me because it's pretty similar to the pastel P-word one. So Bubblegum from Jawbreaker and Pastel Pussy. And then, you know, I'll do Cupcake Royalty next to it too, just so you can see. Yeah, that one's too light. I keep it, like, it looks darker, looks like it will swatch darker than it actually does. And then we have the metallic Cotton Candy one. Which is kind of too dark to be compared to Lollipop Throat, but I'm gonna put them next to each other anyway, just so you can see. That's what those look like. Am I missing anything? I'm gonna do Pink Licorice next to Cherry Wet, but I think those are way off. Yeah, Cherry Wet is way more red. Pink Licorice, Cherry Wet. I'm probably gonna realize that I missed something after I edit this, because I'm sure somebody will point something out that I missed, but I apologize in advance if I do that. I'm just trying to do the ones that grab my eye, because that's really the ones that I see that are similar in person here. I'm gonna be so stained after this. And then what else is similar here? Definitely want to do, can you see? Yeah, you can see Gumdrop, this lavender color, next to Ice Cream Drip. Those are pretty close. So Gumdrop from Jawbreaker and Ice Cream Drip. Those are almost the same exact color. This one is slightly more of a blue-based one, but just looking at those fast, you would not be able to tell the difference. There's really no other purple in here to swatch. I mean, there's this dark metallic purple, but that doesn't really compare to anything on here. So Cotton Candy Party looks very similar to Brain Freeze in the Jawbreaker palette. Brain Freeze is way smoother. It's more of a creamier texture. So Cotton Candy Party next to Brain Freeze. The Brain Freeze one, actually, I prefer that because it just has a better formula. But those two are very close too. So the purples and these blues, very similar. And is that it? Oh, I guess we can do the yellow, but this is a really bright yellow. We have Wow next to Nostalgic Taste and Sugar Climax. Even that one, though that one's metallic. Definitely the yellows don't match. But the two purples and these two blues, those are pretty spot on. And I think that's probably it. The pinks I already did, right? Yeah, I did the pinks. There's so many of them to like compare to. I'm just gonna do like a quick go through of some of the other palettes because I want to see if there's anything maybe nobody mentioned that might be similar. I mean, the Wedding palette was pretty neutral except for that crazy pink in the middle. Yeah, the pink's not close enough to that. Blood Money was all greens. Yeah, that doesn't have anything in it. Right here, Beauty Killer 2 has this blow up doll color that is probably closest to Pastel Pussy. Oh no, probably closest to Pink Licorice. So, what was it just called? Blow Up Doll from Beauty Killer 2. And the Pink Licorice color. Kind of close. Not exact dupes, I just wanted to see how close they were to each other. Let's see what else we got. I'm curious to see if there's any in Blood Sugar, because I know there was some pink in here. Yeah, Cavity. I want to swatch Cavity in the Blood Sugar palette next to these other pinks. Cavity. That one's probably even closer to the Pink Licorice color. I know he definitely does a lot of pinks in his palettes, so you can only do pinks so many ways. I don't know why he continues to put hot pinks in every stinking palette. Let's see, was there anything in Pricked? I don't think there was. No, the Pricked palette is very like fall. This is one of my favorites, but there's no pinks or purples or blues in here, so that's that. How about Thirsty? I know Thirsty was a pretty bright summery palette. Not really. Thirsty has Submerge that I could compare to Cotton Candy Party, but Submerge is way brighter. So we have Submerge and Cotton Candy Party. Definitely Submerge wins that one. Then we have the Alien palette. I'm sure there's some colors in here we could compare. The Alien palette. You know what? That has that purple. That's probably closest to that Taste Test Me one. I don't remember being as in love with this purple as I am with the Taste Test Me one, but we'll see how close they are. Because this one had kind of a drier formula. See, it doesn't swatch that great. Taste Test Me is much more pigmented and creamy. Definitely like richer and bluer. This one was a dark purple, but just didn't perform as well. And what else we got? I've got the Psychedelic Circus palette here too, so let's just check this out. Bearded Lady one we can compare to the other pinks. So I'm gonna put that here because I kind of have no more room. But that one's pretty close too. Bearded Lady. That was Pink Licorice, right? That's this one. Bearded Lady, pretty close to Pink Licorice, but probably closer to this one. The Clownery one, this lighter purple, could compare that to Ice Cream Drip. This one's definitely more pinky. So there's Clownery and Ice Cream Drip. Not close enough. I thought they were closer than that. My wipe just looks like tie-dye now. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, I have the mini palettes, but this is all stuff that we already pretty much went through already. A piece of my hair flying over here. Star Ranch. What was in Star Ranch? You know what? The Star Ranch one has Grand Prismatic, and that looks like it could be pretty similar to, well, I already swatched Cotton Candy Party, and then that was the Submerge one. Grand Prismatic is pretty close to Submerge. I should just do like a color series on all the colors, because I could go through all the blues and all the greens. Let's see. Canceled in this palette. The mini, what was this? Mini Controversy. That's kind of a similar blue here too. little bit darker though than the other ones. And then I don't think there's anything in here. Weirdo. No, that one just has all pretty dark colors and a red, so I went through all of them. I hope this was a super helpful video because I just found like these blues I didn't realize were so similar. But let me know what you think. If you like these kinds of videos, leave a comment. I will try to do more because I know like every time he comes out with a new palette, people ask me to compare it to other ones. So I can do this every time a new palette comes out and just like go through all my other ones and find out what colors are similar in the new palette. But it was kind of easy to do it with this one because there's only pinks, blues, purples, and yellows. So it wasn't as hard as like, okay, let me go find all the neutral tones and all the grays and silvers and stuff like that. But I hope it was helpful, and I will talk to you guys in my next video.